Yo, hello everybody, and welcome to Mayday, a show about the show. I'm your host, Trevor May. Welcome back to Foul Territory Network and later, Trevor May Baseball. Very fun show to talk to you guys about. A lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff to talk about this week. If you notice, there's no microphone right here. It's right here. Despite my best efforts, I realized that I am not able to move around when that microphone is there. So bear with me if it sounds a little bit different today, maybe a little bit echoey. There's going to be some calibration happening, but all my preliminary testing told me it sounds pretty good. So we're going to go with this. But it's a little bit of a new world for me. So if it's too loud, too quiet, let me know. Hatch hello. I see you over there in the chat. I hope you guys are all having a great week and you enjoyed the last week of baseball, because I sure as heck did. The sun is out here in the beautiful Northwest. We don't get a lot of sun here usually, but this time of year when it comes out and it stays out, there's no better place than here. So I am in high spirits. Even though my 7.5-month-old son has teeth popping out, and he does not like that. Any hoozle, let's get right into the show. And first of all, happy May 5th, AKA Cinco de Mayo for those of you that celebrate. Always a fun day to play in the major leagues. There was one time where I actually had a day off on Cinco de Mayo in Chicago, which was a lot of fun. The friends and I, the guys and I, we went out, we had some adult soda pops and enjoyed ourselves, and it was a good time. Didn't get too crazy, but you don't get many days off. So for those of you that are enjoying it, I hope everyone out there is staying safe, and congratulations, Mexico, on your Independence Day. All right, first things first, let's check in on how the first month of the season has gone so far, namely biggest surprises and biggest disappointments. There was a recent poll of actually anonymous executives around the MLB on MLB.com, asking them their biggest surprises and their biggest disappointments on the season, whether that's players, teams, or what have you. And so I wanted to go through theirs and then give you some of mine as we go through. Because I'll be honest, this doesn't happen often. Sometimes I make predictions. I do a little prediction show at the beginning of the year, and some of these things have, come to fruition. But again, it's a 6-month-long season. 1 month is nothing, but it's something. It's not nothing, but it's not very much. Okay, anyway. Biggest surprise team among executives around the league. The biggest surprise teams, there was 2 big ones. One kind of ran away with it, but I included both of them. And those would be the San Francisco Giants and their counterparts across the bay, but up north a little bit farther, the Sacramento A's. Amongst executives, they were surprised by how good these 2 teams have been at the outset of the season. And I will say, I agree in a lot of ways. Though, the A's being better doesn't actually surprise me that much, considering they spent a little bit of money in the offseason. They went and got more of a front-of-the-rotation guy in Luis Severino. Getting Jeffrey Springs was big. I thought they got some guys with some experience to build around their core, and then their entire core was back. Shea Langeliers, J.J. Bleday, Jacob Wilson, Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker. Like, these guys have been there, and they've been getting better every year. So them getting better again this year and being positive 500, above 500 team is not surprising. Actually, they're 19-16, even after that devastating loss they had in Miami the other day. Though they have a negative 22 run differential, it's not super surprising. On the other hand, we have the San Francisco Giants, 21-13, technically in 3rd place in the NL West, but I'd say if you're in 4th or higher, you're doing pretty good in that division, and they have a plus 29 run differential. So, the executives are excited or surprised by those 2 teams, but my 2 teams that I was most surprised by are the Giants and the Cubs. So the Cubs, we just talked about the Giants. I mean, I thought they had potential to be as good as they are. right? I didn't think it would happen right away. I didn't think that Wilmer Flores was going to come and do what he's doing. But I do anticipate them leveling out a little bit. I just don't know how much that will be. But on the other side, the Cubs, I knew the Cubs were going to be better this year. I just didn't know if PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, was going to take another step forward with the bat, and I didn't know how Kyle Tucker was going to fit into their lineup, and if he was going to make a big of a difference being an upgrade from Cody Bellinger. But I think that the jury has come back with their verdict on that one, and yeah, they're pretty dang good. Though they lost Justin Steele, they've been navigating it with some of the young guys. The Browns been throwing pretty well. It's fun to see. I don't know. I think we need the Cubs to come around and be a competitive team more often, I think. And it's good to see some of their stuff come to fruition. All right. Biggest disappointments team-wise, though. Let's talk about that a little bit. Who are the biggest disappointments so far in the season? Pretty much unanimously across the board, executives were like the Orioles. What the frickin' heck has happened to the Orioles? I came into the season this year really underwhelmed by their offseason. I do not like, I just don't, I think it's pretty clear here. I'm not a huge fan of just people who own baseball teams in general. I think that having that much money just inherently makes you kind of insufferable sometimes. And the only thing we've heard from Rubenstein, their new owner, after taking over for the Angeloses, is that we need a salary cap because he's very clearly only worried about dialing in that investment, dialing in that return on investment. And dude, you've been here for 10 minutes. I just want to hear you talk about baseball as if you like it or that has anything to do with your decision to own one. And so that rubbed me the wrong way. And then they were just like, hey, where's some budget guys we can add to this very cheap and good core. And now that the cheap and good core has been decimated by injuries and they didn't get any frontline pitching and they're not hitting very well, and they're bad. They went from really good to bad with just a couple things going not their way, and that's the problem. You want to build depth. You want to shore up your ability to fill in gaps when you need to wait for guys to come back. They didn't do that, so that didn't surprise me one bit. And believe it or not, I did this. My team that I'm disappointed in is also the Orioles. Yes, I know you didn't really see it swap, but it did. Okay, I put that in twice. I'm pissed off about it too. So, am I surprised? Not really. I am surprised about how hard Charlie Morton has struggled out the gate, but I don't anticipate him being this bad this year. But he's throwing out of the pen now. I mean, let's see what happens when they get some of their guys back. When they get Kittredge back to help in the back of the bullpen. Felix Bautista's starting to look better. They're going to get going a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know what the plan is past that. Like, are we hoping Grayson Rodriguez is a game one ace? I don't know if he is. He's good, but I just don't know how far away we are from that type of guy. Is he a 2 or 3? Absolutely. Are we hoping Bradish is our ace moving forward? You know what I mean? Like, we need that game. You need a closer or a stopper in the bullpen. You need a game one starting pitcher, and you need 2 position players locked in to be your core in the lineup. That's what you need. That's what every team needs. You can water it down to that. And they just didn't they don't have a number 1 pitcher. They do have a closer, and they have Gunnar and Adley. So, like, they just need a number 1 starting pitcher. But they didn't do it. They had all the opportunity. They should have went all in on getting Crochet, but they didn't. So, I'm out. I'm out on that. Disappointing so far. The Orioles are. But what about players? Surprise players. Let's talk a little bit about what the executives said. Executives, real high on Young-Hoo Lee. He's batting .312 for 3 homers, and they've been big homers, and 19 RBIs for an .869 OPS. He's also extremely fast and a very good outfielder. So he's been doing his job even better than they could have anticipated. Sometimes with Korean players, especially because we didn't get to see much of him last year. Sometimes with Korean players, they struggle with the pitching in the major leagues just because the quality is a little bit better, the velocity is much better, and the off-speed pitches are better. So you're running into really, really good pitching more often. So sometimes there's a hang-up there because I'd say for the two Korea and Japanese leagues versus major leagues, Japan is way closer to the major leagues than Korea is. So sometimes that happens. So far, so good, though. He's looked really good. But for me, the one I'm excited for, and he is an ex-teammate of mine, and he had a really tough year last year after getting traded over to my hometown team, and that is Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco is off to a scorching start. As of, this was 4 p.m. yesterday, he's hitting .395 with 9 home runs, 25 RBIs, and a staggering 1.250 OPS. Yo. That's nuts. The only person who has better numbers than that is Aaron Judge because, I don't know, he's... I think he's the son of Zeus, and I was about to read off the plot to Hercules, but then I realized that probably would land flat, so I'm going to stop. He's just really good. So Jorge Polanco, though, has been a very bright light for this Mariners team, which is good offensively. Another surprise for me. I was going to wait to get to this, but the potent, I'm going to throw this right in because Polanco makes sense. The potent Mariners offense, they're 6th in the league in runs scored, I believe, and they are leading the division by kind of a lot in runs scored. Nobody anticipated that, myself included. I was down on them like I was down with the Orioles, and it's funny that they both kind of gone in different directions. And also, Cal Raleigh is your home run. I don't know if Cal Raleigh is still the home run leader, but he was after the game on Friday. So he's a catcher. That's a good sign. And Julio hasn't even got going yet. So let's see how this goes. I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited for Jorge and his bounce back. He got his, I believe it was calf. Was it his calf cleaned up in the offseason? Was the surgery? And he looks way better. Disappointment players, though, across the league, according to the executives that were asked, Willy Adames, slow start for a team that is really nice to see. The guy they paid all the money in the offseason, not so much. Adames is hitting .227 with 4 home runs, 17 RBIs, good for a .667 OPS. And he's struggling to find consistency at the plate. And I know I said a bold take I had going into the season was Willy Adames was going to underperform his paycheck. I think that Willie's contract is just a byproduct of what shortstops get signed for. He never was he was always a very good player, one of the better players on the other team, but he was never the best player on the team he was on when I was playing against him. And never a guy I worried about too much. He did get me a couple times. Maybe that's why. But for some reason I was he's a rock solid player. I'd love to have him, but I don't know if he's a star. And that's where that came from. And so far, this is kind of why. He's a little bit streaky, but I think he's going to come back. He's a pro, and he's going to end the year with a strong performance. But, if we're looking for him to be the 3-hitter that takes over games, it's just not the type of guy he is. So I agree with that one, but my big disappointment so far was Devin Williams, because I thought the Yankees really needed him to come in and be prototypical Devin Williams. So far, he's got 4 saves with an 8.18 ERA, 11 strikeouts, and a 1.82 WHIP. Strikeouts are way down, walks are way up. We're gonna talk about fixing him later in the hour in our Going Deep segment. But let's just say thank God for Luke Weaver and his ability to fill in that gap. A guy who did it all year last year, and now he's doing it for them this year. So at least they had another option, because things like this can get really messy when you look around and no one in the bullpen. Everyone's struggling, right? But they've had Leiter Jr. throw pretty well. Fernando Cruz has been well. A lot of funky splitters coming out of that bullpen. A lot of funky splitters. So I like what the Yankees are doing with their bullpen, honestly. It's interesting. It's fun to watch. As a pitcher myself, it's a good time. So a couple other surprises that I just wanted to touch on. Already got into the Mariners. I did not anticipate the Rockies being actually worse than the White Sox. There was a point in time where the Rockies were on pace for 21 wins on the year. So they have played better recently, but Let's pay attention to them because, I mean, they're better. They're just way better than that. I mean, maybe not the pitching, but the batting is supposed to be, and they've been abysmal so far this year. And then the Twins started off slow. Didn't anticipate that. If you told me like everyone in the lineup got hurt at the same time, I would believe you, but that really hasn't. I mean, they've lost a few people here and there, and guys missing time, but it hasn't been only because of that. But I also think that they're just too good to be this bad for very long. So, sorry, Shay. Shay's in the chat. I'm sorry, Shay. Huge Twins fan, but it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. But hey, like I said, 1 month down, 5 more to go. Enjoy that, guys. How those bodies feel. Mine feels pretty fat. I'm fat. I'm feeling pretty fat. All right, before we move on, great, awesome. Yeah, get that up on the screen. Before we move on, let me just really quickly touch on the new podcast. Mayday and Cut of the Diamond have new episodes. We have AJ Ramos that came out last Wednesday since the last episode. Sat down with him, got some great stories. Really good with Giancarlo Stanton, like Ricky Nolasco stories. So highly recommend you go check that out wherever you listen to podcasts. That's Cut on the Diamond. And we have the companion podcast for this show, Mayday, also available on all those same places. You can't catch the show live. You can catch it there. Also, thank you for 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. We hit that 2 weeks ago or so. My plaque comes this week, so I'm really excited. I'll have it for next show. So super, super pumped about that. And also join the Discord. Exclamation point Discord in any chat except for foul territory, I guess. Discord.gg/Trevor May. And you'll get right in the Discord and we have conversations about baseball. It's a great time in there. It's a great time. Great time in there. And I have a newsletter. If you are ever wondering, oh, what did Trevor do this week? Or what other shows was he on? I do a lot of guest hosts and stuff, and so I have a weekly newsletter that goes out on Fridays that tells you everything we did that week. So it just links to all the shows. So if very minimum, you can go to iamtrevormay.com and it's right there. That's all you can do is sign up for this for the newsletter. All right, let's get into some news because there was quite a bit of news this week. Oops, I already put this away. Okay, quite a bit of news this week. Some really interesting ones, so let's fire right through it. First up, Kansas City Royals set a franchise record with 7 home runs against the, hate to see it, Orioles. Those 7 home runs take their total on the year to 25 because they only had 18 total in 34 games going in. This is a record. The Orioles also hit 4 home runs. So there's a total of 11 home runs in the game, 10 of which were solo shots, which is another major league record. We're seeing so many major league records like this happen, like number of homers in a game. I thought the balls weren't due. Jamin, thank you for 82 months. I see you. Thank you so much. So good for them. Guys who homered were Jonathan India, Maikel Garcia hit 2 homers, Luke Maile, Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch, and Michael Massey all hit balls over the fence in Camden to propel them to an 11-6 W. Chandler Simpson's speed leads the Rays over the Yankees in a 7-5 win. This dude can fly. He literally grounded out to shortstop and just beat it straight up. Just a normal routine ground ball, handled cleanly, quickly, got rid of quickly, and he beat it. The guy does not even care about swinging the bat hard or anything. He's just like, just get it in between these lines and then you'll be safe. He literally single-handedly made this game happen. He scored from second on an infield single by Yandy Diaz early in the game, in the 4th inning, capping a three-run fourth, and then stole another base later in the game, and then scored another run. So Chandler Simpson, it's fun to watch, getting shades of Billy Hamilton. I don't know if you guys are seeing that too. The Braves played much better as of lately, and they finally won their first game this year against the Dodgers. Breaking an 0-for-5 streak, and also breaking the Dodgers' 7-game winning streak. Surprise! Dodgers are in the first in the NL West on a 7-game streak. Who would have thought it? Austin Riley hit 2 home runs. He's my dark horse. He was my dark horse for an MVP for the second year in a row, and it started slow. Hopefully this keeps going. Even though Miguel Rojas came off the bench, hit a home run in the 7th, didn't matter. The Braves take down the Dodgers 4-3. Good to see that for them. Another news, Lance McCullers is back after 915 days on the shelf. That is 2.5 years. He got to put on an Astros jersey and pitch as a starting pitcher in the major leagues once again. He got to go out there against Chicago White Sox. He ended up throwing 3 2/3 scoreless innings. They were not the cleanest things I'd ever seen, but that is to be expected when it's been that long since it's been on a big league mound. Frankly, dude, it's almost been 3 seasons. Like, I've been gone. I've been out of baseball for a season and a quarter, and I can't remember at all what it was like. I don't have any memory, so I can only imagine what it was like for him. I missed a lot of time at times in my career too, and I know it drove me nuts, but I can't imagine what almost 3 years feels like. So congratulations to him. They ended up losing because, the Astros ended up dropping the game 5-4 after an hour and a half rain delay. But McCullers, he got the job done. He battled. He threw some really nice pitches. That curveball is still there. The sinker's good. He was like 92, 93. You know, had some good zip on stuff. He looked pretty sharp in terms of stuff. The command's going to come later, but he looked good. And that could be a huge deal for the Astros moving forward. The Rangers, also in the AL West, decide to fire their offensive coordinator, Donnie Ecker. This is offensive coordinator. I don't know if that's what they call that. I believe that's football, hitting coach, whatever you want to call it. But Donnie is out in Dallas. He was at the conclusion of Sunday's game. So here's the statistics of the team, just so you guys can get an idea of how he's being evaluated. Texas was 25th in weighted runs created plus at 85, 25th in slugging, 26th in batting average, 28th in on-base percentage, 29th in runs, and 29th in walk rate. That's like the last year's Mariners. So he was a holdover from Woodward's tenure before Bruce Bochy took over. Then they won the World Series, but last year they were pretty bad, pretty anemic as well, where they were bottom 10 in pretty much all the same categories all year last year as well. So he got a long leash. Unfortunately, they never got back. Doesn't help that Corey Seager is hurt so much, and Marcus Semien has not done what he did in 2023 much at all since. But that said, they're going to go in a different direction. In a little bit more sad news, we had Tristan Cassis go down with a ruptured patella tendon. Is that what it's called? Ruptured tendon in his knee. For those of you who don't know what your patella tendon is, or if you've ever had shin splints, it's tendonitis in that tendon. Basically, your Achilles goes down the back of your leg up into your calf. Your patella tendon goes back down your front leg and connects to your knee. So if you're pushing off with your toes, you're using your Achilles. If you're kicking, you're using your patella tendon. So he had a full rupture, not pretty. Guys miss a lot of time too, so thoughts are out in him and his family. And I know he loves baseball. I saw the Boston documentary, and that guy loves baseball. So I hate to see it. I'm really excited about the Red Sox this year, so losing him. He had started slow. It's just wanted to start get going. And when you have something like this happen, it stinks, man. It stinks. In other injury news, Corbin Burns is going to miss a start with shoulder inflammation, but don't worry, this is normal. The older you get, the more you start to build in these little short stints, especially early or mid-year, so you can get a little bit of a blow. If your shoulder's not feeling great, you could pitch, but you're like, I'm thinking about it. Now I just want to give myself some rest. There might be an off day in there where they can push it or manipulate it a little bit so he only misses one start because you need 10 days. Actually, I believe he needs 15 days, so he might miss. But it might be retroactive. Anyway, you can get creative with it, moving your rotation around so a guy only misses one. So don't worry, Diamondbacks fans. I know you guys are out there and worried about it, but don't be. Don't be. He's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out, and they still have Zach Allen, who looked much better last start, Merrill Kelly, and Eduardo Rodriguez, who's punching out the world, which makes no sense to me. So don't worry your little heads. The Diamondbacks are going to be right there at the end. Mark my words. It's a good team. And that is it for the news. Real quick, though, before we move on to our main topic of the day, we have a little bit of a message from the other boys over FL Territory. Check it out.
It is complicated enough to figure out what type of car you want, but when it comes to pricing and best time to buy and all of that information that you're looking for, Car Gurus is the only destination that you should be thinking about, Kratz. Why?
Because I don't have to question what the price is. It's going to be there. If the price changes and comes down to where I want it to be, bang, I get a notification. Car Gurus is giving it to me straight, and this is how I want to purchase a car. Not fast. I just want to know what's going on.
With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the US. So you can find the best deal, and it's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. So you can buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com, cargurus.com.
Thank you for your time. So, I just want to, by the way, before we get into the show, or before we get into this topic, I want to thank everyone on behalf of Foul Territory, the YouTube channel, for 100,000 subscribers. They blew past me. I beat them to 100K. Now they're at 114. What's happening? But thank you so much. I think it's awesome because, I'm part of it too. And a lot of you guys are watching on now. So thank you everyone who has subscribed. And if you are watching currently and not subscribed, what are you doing? Figure it out. The button's right there. Thanks. Thank you. And congratulations, everybody. I'll tell them tomorrow when I host the show. All right. Today on Maysplaining, bombshell that no one seemed to care about, actually. But it was a bombshell for me. The MLB made a change to players say shrank the zone, and it caught them by surprise. So, little backstory on the unveiling or how this unfolded behind the scenes for me, because I didn't help write this article. It was written by Jason Stark, Ken Rosenthal. It says, and others, and the others were Eno Saris. So this is funny. I know they had a lot of people help them out, but the 3 authors were Eno as well. I do a pod with Eno. I say that every week, but he was trying to get the story figured out. They were trying to figure out when it was going to go live when we were recording the show last week. So I got to see how that all works, which was interesting. But let me just give you a little back story on a little context on how this all kind of happened. All right. So in spring training, as many of you remember, we saw the introduction of the ABS system in Major League games for the first time. So ABS system is the automated robot strike zone. There are 2 ways that the minor leagues have been testing it for the last couple of years. One of which is the umpire has a headpiece in, and someone in the booth is just saying, "Hey, that's a strike or that's a ball," and then they call it. So they don't actually call anything anymore. It's all done by a robot. That's boring, and I hate that. The other version that was done so I believe the weekends were that, and then the weekdays, I could be wrong, but there was some games were one and some games were other, and the pitchers and everyone knew which one was which and what day. They do 6-game series in AAA now too. So you play the same team 6 games in a row. And so you're in one city for an entire week and get an off day on Sunday. So that was the best way to do this. I think it's half and half, all right? The other way you do it would be the challenge system. That's what we saw in spring training. Umpires are calling the strike zone the way they always have. And then each team has a certain number of challenges. You tap top of your head, and then they go to the system and they check. So that way it becomes more of a skill. If you get it right, you get to keep it. If you get it wrong, you lose it. Same way that throwing out that red flag and doing an instant replay would work, okay? So we rolled that out. It's been tested in the minors, I believe since 2022, maybe the very end, or maybe they did independent ball in 22, and then 23 it went to the minor leagues. Regardless, so they did both challenges and robot umpires, like I said. Okay, so I actually went down in 2023 to Salt Lake, and actually a game in Sacramento too, but in Salt Lake to rehab, to get back in shape after my anxiety stint, okay, IL stint. When I got there, I was told, hey, here's which system you're using. So I got to pitch 3 times. I believe I pitched once with the ABS challenge, or 2 with the ABS challenge system and 1 just ABS straight up. And one of the questions I had from my pitching coach was, where's the strike zone? Okay. Unfortunately, he didn't know. This was a quote. He said, the zone's smaller, but I can't tell the pitchers exactly how. We just know it is. Seams up and down have tightened up, but we haven't gotten clear information on how much it's tightened up. Meaning, strike zone got shorter, okay? And that's just part of like figuring out how this thing's gonna work, okay? So I was actually, then I got back to the big leagues. I was in Detroit, and there was someone who works for the Detroit Tigers, and I'm so sorry, sir, if you're watching, I cannot remember your name for the life of me, but someone who is intimate with the testing process. They are overseeing it, and I talked publicly about it a little bit. He was like, hey, let me give you some background on it. And I go, what's the biggest difficulty? It's funny, I'm interviewing this guy, but I'm in uniform and I'm in the bullpen. And he goes, the biggest difficulty is just the calibration of it, deciding how we want the robots to determine what a strike is, okay? I don't have any graphics for this, but one big issue is where the box is. This is like one of the boxes for Hawkeye. Hawkeye is the system they use to keep track of everything. All the boxes and the number of boxes and sensors is different in every stadium, okay? So it needs to be calibrated very succinctly to be consistent in every stadium. They want to have that locked down before it goes to the major leagues. That makes sense, okay? Also, there is a second benefit, or there's a second goal. Increased offense in the league. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but that is something that the league wants. They want more runs being scored. I understand why that's fun. I'm gonna take my pitcher hat off for now and not get mad about pitchers giving up more runs being what everyone wants, okay? Though I had to say all that, of course. So there's been some tightening happening. It was happening then, we knew about it, but I'm like, is it a 2D zone? Is it like a piece of paper put on the plate and then it's like on the front of the plate, and if it crosses that plane, that's a strike? Or is it a 3D zone where it's a box where if it touches any of it, like does half the ball need to be in the strike zone? Or if it just touches it, does it need to be a strike zone? Or does it need to be more than half the ball? And so all of these questions have been being chewed on and tested at the league side. So it's changing. It changes regularly. If the minors didn't matter before, oh my God, do they not matter now? So basically it's a moving target that no one really knows the answers to, but that's just the nature of the game. Like you're in the minors, you know that stuff's gonna happen. Sometimes you go out there and you throw them out and you're like, how is this regulation? And it turns out it's not. So, that's a big hang with them. That's what we say, all right? So that's kind of how all this stuff has been developing. So we now have confirmation, and this was just realized. Basically, in the major leagues this year, there was a bunch of weird isolated anecdotes happening where guys were like, is this strike zone smaller? One of the quotes given in the article, which I would highly recommend you go to The Athletic and read the whole thing. I don't want to break this whole thing down by word for word because I want you guys to go read it because they did work really hard on it. They did great reporting. Travis d'Arnaud had a conversation with an umpire, and the umpire said, how do you like the new strike zone? And Travis said, what are you talking about? What do you mean a new strike zone? That's a weird thing to say. Hitters have been like, oh, it feels tighter to me. And pitchers have definitely noticed that it feels tighter, meaning the edges are called less and there's more missed strikes happening in the strike zone than basically strikes being called out of the strike zone, just overall, right? I know there's situations where you can point at one or the other, but so guys weren't feeling it, they're noticing it. But one big thing were the nerds. The nerds were noticing it because all their models were off. Eno said to me, for somehow only three catchers are above average in receiving. That doesn't make sense. That's not how numbers work, but it's because their calibration of what a strike was and what sealing a strike meant. Like you got to know what the strike zone is. That's part of the equation. So if the strike zone's different, then it's going to throw the model off. So their model was off, and they're like, why are all our models off? Then there was executives for other teams saying, yeah, we've been trying to figure out why our models are off for like 2 weeks. It's because a lot of them are built around a standardized strike zone that has been calibrated and it has been the same way for a long time. So what happened? This is what happened. We now have this confirmation. The umpires union in the offseason negotiated with the commissioner's office. They have their own CBA. just like the players do, okay? That, among other things, changes to the buffer zone. There's a little zone around I'll get into the buffer zone in a second, but the changes to the buffer zone from 2 inches all the way around the strike zone to 3/4 of an inch on either side of the edge of the strike zone, okay? So that's 1.5 inches of width total, but it's been moved in, all right? I have a good little, I believe there is a nice little graphic here. Okay, so yeah, this is what the ABS looks like. You notice that the strike zone looks a little bit more like a square, not a rectangle. It's because it's a square. So this is what I was seeing too. I was like, why do the bottom and the top look shorter? It's because they are, okay? But this is the buffer zone, all right? I'll show this to you. Now, the orange here, and I apologize, anyone listening on the podcast form, you should go check out the long form of this, but you can find this in the article as well, it's there. The orange here is the old buffer zone. The blue is the new buffer zone. What a buffer zone means is not that that is a strike now. It is if an umpire calls that incorrectly, and because it was on the outside, all the calls were strikes because those are technically balls, and you're in the buffer zone, it's a close enough. So when you're being evaluated, you're either not dinged for that or you're barely dinged for it at all, right? There's a grading system, and why the grading system is important is it determines whether or not you're sent down, relegated to the minors, determines whether or not you get playoff games, which is more money. It's important, right? You want to be the best at this, and so knowing where the edges are is important. The buffer being 2 inches is the width of the ball. So basically, if the ball's fully in the buffer zone, you can assume that it's touching the zone, so it's okay if that's a strike. That moving in now has created two things. One, it's only 3/4 of an inch outside of the zone now, so that's not a full ball length, right? So now if it's outside of that, where it would have been in the old buffer zone by 1.25 inches, it's no longer in there and you're gonna get dinged for it. So umpires really quickly are like, I have to tighten up or I'm gonna get in trouble quickly I need to adjust immediately. I can't adjust slowly over time. That makes sense. So what is your natural inclination? Just call a ball, because that way you won't be wrong, right? It's incentivizing calling balls. But it has more accurately tightened to the strike zone. So the zone itself is the same, the buffer zone is different, which has changed the psyche of the umpires, which is gonna tighten the zone by nature. All of that stuff, honestly, not bad changes. Interesting changes, cool. All right, I get it. So now we have umpires seeing a pitch on the edge and they're like, ball. So what we're getting is 1.4 more balls called in the strike zone a game than we did before. Now that doesn't sound like very much, but over an entire season, 6,500 total strikes will be missed. And this is overwhelmingly to the benefit of hitters, not pitchers. This helps pitchers 0. And it helps hitter 100%. But remember, we want more offense. I get it. This is a quantifiable change. It makes sense. Now, this might sound like a rule change to you, but technically, it is bringing them closer to the rule that's on the books. So the rule didn't change itself. So the commissioner's office does not need to include the Players Association in the negotiation because it's not a rule change technically. That said, there were 20 executives, players, and coaches asked if they knew about this change to make this article. 0 of the 20 said they remember hearing anything about this going through. That is the issue at hand at this point, okay? So there were 3, the commissioner's office, this is Rob Manfred, and this is his little best friend, Morgan Sword. Morgan Sword is the deputy commissioner and the, I don't know, chief economics officer for the league. He's gonna be the next, mark my words, this guy is the next commissioner after Rob retires. This guy's gonna take over, okay? So these two guys are on top of this thing. They said that they told people 3 separate times. They said they told them in November when the rule was being negotiated, so it hadn't been put in place. So that's just anecdotal. I don't know why anyone would remember that. Then in December, there was a memo sent out during the December winter meeting saying, hey guys, by the way, the strike zone, the buffer zone's changed, and blah, 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 blah. It was put in they said they sent it, sent it to all the teams. Yet nobody, as far as I'm aware, to this point, has produced that memo. So it was presumably sent to hundreds of people. Not a single person could find it in their email. Huh. So, okay. So there's two things happening here, right? There is the strike zones changed, and then nobody was told. So why do you think people being told about the strike zone changing is important? And this is the thing that I have issues with. One, tell everybody that it affects. This has been an issue in the past where I think there was very little thought put into the effects that it's going to have on the people who actually make the whole product. That is really frustrating to me to hear. And then the way that it's handled, denied, or like, hey, bro, no, we didn't, it's your fault, blah, blah, blah. And when it probably was a mistake, even if it was a mistake, it's okay if it was a mistake. But the lack of accountability ever, or good faith ever, is what drives me insane. So you got to tell the players and the coaches and the people who make decisions when things like this are changing. Whether or not you want to get flack, I understand how they don't want the players to get all mad about it and they don't want to hear it anymore and this, that, and the other. But I have another thing to say. Tough life. Sorry. You chose the job. This is how it works, right? Push and pull. You don't just get to do things and then just act like everyone's stupid after they're mad about it, right? So that is one thing that just can't happen. So whether or not it happened, allegedly they sent it. I'm big on proof, but it's neither here nor there. That was one issue that a lot of people had and was frustrating. So not knowing, you're maybe making stupid decisions because you don't know what's going on. That can be really annoying, especially when you're battling for a job or something. You're like, oh, okay, I just was thrown to the edge that wasn't there, right? Is it a huge effect? Not a massive effect, but psychologically it can be. And just knowing allows you to wrap your head around. It's like it's like if I showed up one day, they're like, by the way, there's a pitch clock today. Like that I need to change some things. So if that happened, that would have been a crazy story. So who knows? Did they do it? Did they not do it? I'm going by historical, my own personal experience and the way that everything's handled all the time, and it's always done in this little like sneaky. Just say it and move on, like it's going to be okay. So there is a meeting. There is a competition committee meeting. I call it the 7-4 or the 11-0 because players will never win because of the way it's set up. But they're having a meeting where they're going to discuss it, and then if there's a vote called, inevitably the players will lose. Okay. Here's the pros and cons of people knowing about it. And then we'll talk about the zone itself, because I do think it's a good change overall. This is the weird thing about this. Like, it's good. It's good for the game. I understand it. Like, we would understand. But I think players would understand if they were told. So, pros and cons with strike zone changing, okay? More pros. Depends on your perspective here, but pros. More offense. So far, batting average is up 2 points. OPS is up a couple points. Good. Less strikeouts, also associated with more offense. Strikeouts are down 0.5% this year. Better for product. Guys are getting on base. We're getting stolen bases. We got Chandler Simpson running around. Like, the game is kind of going back towards the way it used to be, which is good. But I think most of that is natural. I just want to put that. More calls being made correctly is another pro. Of course, that's great. I think the umpires are better this year than they've ever been. And I want to give them their flowers. You guys are crushing it. Some of you still are pretty rough, but there's far less of you that are rough than are good. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Strike zones are more consistent and umpires are better overall. So I just said that, but like strike zones are more consistent. So everyone knows what it is too. It's not so like loosey-goosey. It's very tighter means clearer, which is clarity is good. Okay. The cons though, is incentivizing calling more balls for the umpires so they don't get in trouble. That's probably not great for pitchers. More advantage is artificially given to hitters. It does artificially make makes pitchers miss over the plate more because they're trying to throw more of the plate. That's going to be an advantage to the hitters. Catcher performance metrics are just now crazy different, right? So now catchers don't know if they're good or not, which catchers are the most valuable, one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable position on the field. And if you take away defensive ways to stand out defensively, that's going to hurt a lot of guys' careers. And catching's really freaking hard. To both hit and be defensively good is so hard. So I don't want catchers sacrificing defense just because it doesn't matter anymore. That's not good for pitchers either. So 0 for 3 for pitchers, and then walks could possibly explode. So this is a con. Like if you don't know where the strike zone is, there's gonna be way more walks, and there has been, but walks always even out, and I'll talk about that in a minute. They even out mostly because you just don't get to be in the big leagues if you walk a lot of guys usually. If you walk a ton of dudes, that's sin number one. Mortal sin number one. You can't walk people and stay in the major leagues. So that's why the walk rate is always between 8 and 9% every year, no matter what. And it will end that way too. So that's kind of already built in, all right? So that's what's wrong if you change the strike zone. But what if you don't tell anybody about it? If you don't tell anyone about it, here's the pros for the league. No players push back, they don't have to explain themselves, and pitchers will not adjust, which will make offense go up. So those are the pros from the commissioner's office standpoint of not telling anybody. Cons, internal team models are thrown off, so teams have trouble evaluating things that are related to the strike zone. Neither hitters nor pitchers know what the strike zone is. So in general, it could backfire. No one knows what the hell's going on. There are a lot of frustration can happen, a lot of changes happening that are based not in reality. It could just mess things up, throw the equilibrium off. Miscommunication with umpires. Umpires know there's a tighter zone. Pitchers don't know. They're yelling at each other. And if the pitcher just knew, he wouldn't yell. I'm out there trying to determine whether or not my eyes are telling me something that is true or false. I don't want to look like an idiot because the ball's right there that was in the buffer zone that would normally be called a strike that isn't because the rules change. And I don't know that, but I'm yelling about it as if I know, but I don't. That's another con. And then game plans can get thrown off, right? You're like, oh, I can hit that spot, but I can't hit that spot. Now I need to figure things out. So a lot of things are based on the strike zone. It's almost like, I feel like it's one of those things you don't think about the strike zone until it changes. It's like you don't think about your back until you hurt it, right? So this is what they've noticed, and it turns out there has been a rule put in play. So just be paying attention. In conclusion, to this meeting on Friday, what comes out about it. Do I know that any of this was done to be malicious or on purpose or just to screw certain players over, screw pitchers over or whatever? No, I don't know that stuff. It's all alleged, and I'm just going off intuition based on how other decisions were made. When the balls were changed in 2019, they still deny that to this day. It is clear as day it was done on purpose. The data shows it. The balls, it's one of those things that the ball's another thing that they can just do, and we can't do anything, the players can't do anything about it because it's not in the CBA. And so they found as many ways to manipulate and change the game in the way they wanted to see it changed without having to get any input from the players. And this would be another example of that, right? But at the end of the day, it's a minimal thing. It's not a huge deal. Once you figure it out, you can make the adjustment. It's just frustrating, and I understand. So, do I know for a fact that anyone lied or whatever? No. Will we ever know? No, we won't. We won't, because there's nothing you can do about it. You can say no, we didn't forever, and eventually people just get exhausted and stop. So I don't know if you guys have been alive in the world right now, but that seems like that's seeming like a much stronger tool than it should be, in my opinion, in a lot of different ways. But that is the strike zone. It is getting tighter. If you thought it was getting tighter, you were right. And now we have proof. But hope pitchers can adjust so that the game stays competitive, because I feel like hitting has come a long way, especially in the last year or so. And it is a better product. It's more fun to watch. I'm having a good time watching. I know the pitch clock's even pretty good. I know. I'm sorry. Now that we're used to it. I'm supposed to be the one that yells about everything, but I can't always do that. So anyway, would love to know what you think. Let me know down in the comments. Is it something? Is it nothing? You let me know. Thank you. Okay. All righty. We have our player breakdown. Going deep. Oh, I didn't do the mace-plaining intro. It's frustrating. Anyway, we're going to do the going deep, though. I'll see you in a moment. This is Going Deep, and that is Devin Williams. All right. Devin Williams was traded to the New York Yankees this offseason for Nestor Cortez and another prospect that I am not remembering the name of right now. And he was pegged to take over as a closer for the team that had just got beat in the World Series, that was, by all accounts, ready, cooking to make a repeat appearance. Now, we don't have Luis Gil. We lost Garrett Cole for the year, so it's not quite looking like that much so far. And Devin has not really panned out much here at the beginning. You may remember he was attached to the change in the facial hair policy. A lot of people were not okay with the facial hair policy, but who cares, in my opinion. But you know, that was a controversial take right away. He was like, people don't want to come here. This is one of the stupid rules that they don't want to come here for. That's not entirely true, I don't think, but it is one of the things like, it's just a stupid thing I don't want to have to deal with. Like, if all things considered, it's hard to get to the Yankee Stadium in the Bronx too. Like, it's hard to live there. I understand it, but anyway, he kind of made that comment, and fans didn't really like that too much. And that's one way to not endear yourself to be a true, bleed navy blue Yankee from the beginning. So there was a little bit happening there. And then he's come out and he's not thrown well at the outset. Fortunately, Luke Weaver has thrown really well. So he has moved into that closer role for Devin Williams and his struggles. But he has struggled. And I wanted to look into why and what to look for when determining what to look for to think that he might be coming back and getting back into form. Now, really quickly before I do that, remember, Josh Hader was abruptly traded as well to the San Diego Padres. He had one of the worst months I've ever seen for a reliever. Insane. Made no sense. And then he went right back to being the Josh Hader. You just never know what's going on up here, what's going on over here. You can get a little bit out of whack, and you can be a reliever, and 3 or 4 tough outings in a row can make you feel like everything, the sky's falling and everything sucks, right? So I wanted to look into, well, what's happening to him, and look at some maybe peripheral stats, some advanced stats that tell us what might be going on and whether or not he's just getting unlucky. Like, is it luck? Is it stuff? Like, is it command? What is it? So here's what I found. Here's his stats for this year, okay? K per 9, way down. He's like a career 14 K per 9. He's got 9. Way too many walks. He's not giving up a home run. That's an interesting one. BABIP, batting average on balls put in play, meaning when it's put in play, how often is it a hit? 364 is well above average, meaning he might be getting a little bit unlucky, especially because his batting average against him the last 3 years is 145. So he doesn't give up a lot of hits. And for him to give up hits at that clip is pretty crazy. His left on base rate of 42.9% is extremely low. It's like 88%. It's half of that. So everyone's scoring when they get on base. A little bit of unluckiness there. There's been some weird defensive plays that were called hits that weren't very well done for him. His ground ball rate's normal, but here's what I want you to notice. ERA, so ERA, xERA, FIP, and xFIP. His ERA is an 8, but his expected is a 5.5. Not good expected, but it's expected to be much better. So there is some luck in this. His FIP is a 3.51, and he's got an 8. Fielder independent pitching is supposed to say what you would do with a major league average defense behind you. So he has gotten unlucky, and he's still got a positive WAR, so good for him. So there's been some not so much luck. So I was like, okay, if he's unlucky, how's his stuff look? So here's the movement on his 2 pitches. This is a thing that's a problem though. Throwing only 2 pitches can be an issue when you're struggling. But this is the changeup. At the top we have this year, and the bottom 2 we have last year. So the top one's the fastball. I don't know why I didn't put the names of the pitches. And the bottom one's the changeup, the airbender. They haven't changed much. Like, look at his airbender movement. It's still the best in the league. Last year, it was the best in the league. If he threw in enough innings last year, these 2 would be the same colors. They'd be red. You want to see a lot of red here. So his pitches are moving the same. By the way, just an inch variation, not a big deal because they move so much. So these are that standard deviation could be from the stadium, from throwing inside in Milwaukee and throwing outside in the cold in Yankee Stadium. So everything's moving the same. So he's a little bit unlucky, and his movement's okay. So what is it? All right, here's the things that I found. One, oh, that's not right. We don't want to do that. Hold. I messed that up. My fault, guys. Oh, that's wrong too. Again, Jiminy Christmas. There we go. All right. My bad. He's got to be tipping? No. So I don't know how to go back there. So first time. Anyway, we're going to cut that out. We're back. So there we go. It's command. It comes down to command, and stuff is a little bit different. So his velo on his fastball is down 1 mile an hour. A lot of people will be like, oh, that's not great. But that drop is actually more consistent with what it was in 2022 and 2023. So like his velo is about the same that it was in those 2 years, both of which he was lights out. So it can't be that, right? So I'm not super worried about it. That said, his fastball command has been abysmal. He's thrown almost as many outside the zone as he has inside the zone. Not great. Because he's a two-pitch pitcher. So if you're not familiar with Devin, first of all, go watch him. Second of all, he throws four-seam fastballs top zone, and he throws the air bender. The best changeup in the major leagues still is, and it needs to be at the bottom of the zone. His air bender has been well commanded. His fastball is not. Doesn't matter, though, unfortunately, how good your air bender is if your fastball command isn't located when you only throw two pitches. So in the past, he's thrown a cutter like 1% of the time. He'll mix in like a cutter or sinker or like some weird little pitch, as every year, hasn't yet this year, okay? So he's not commanding the fastball to set up his best pitch, a pitch that he cannot throw every pitch. It's not a slider, right? It's not a breaking ball. It's not a knuckleball. It's a changeup. And so that gives you limited utility with using the pitch. He is the best one, and he can use that more by itself than most people, but you can't just do it all the time, all right? So command is one big issue. First pitch strikes. He's only thrown strike one to 50.9% of the hitters that he's faced. Just so you know, the number that guys are shooting for is 62% or higher. So 51% is really low. Now, historically, Devin has a lower one than average, okay? His average for his career is 57.3%, but he's still 7% below that. So first pitch strike percent means the number of times he throws strike one as opposed to ball one. He's throwing ball one half the time. When you're behind 1-0 and you only have two pitches, and one of those pitches isn't being commanded very well, that kind of paints you into a corner. Add in a bunch of bad luck where someone zoos a ball for a double randomly after you walked a couple guys, suddenly you give up 3 runs. And you're like, oh, that happened quick. That's what's happening to him. Nothing has changed fundamentally with how Devin Williams pitches and how good he is. It just comes down to when the bad things are happening. So he's over-relying on the airbender to get everybody out. It is his best pitch. He's throwing it a ton. He's throwing it more than he's throwing his fastball. That's not sustainable if he wants to get to the level of his previous success. He has to be about 50-50. And then he doesn't have a third pitch. So being able to just, as a hitter, just say, I don't have to worry about this third pitch, it's a luxury. So they're basically standing there like, he's throwing one pitch in the strike zone. So I'm gonna wait for that. And they're getting timely hits, but he's not getting hit around. He's just getting timely hits. So pay attention. How often is he throwing strike one? When does that change? That should be exciting, especially with both. If he's throwing fastballs for strike one, that's great. He should take four-seam fastball shots at the bottom of the zone. He should be trying to throw early in a count, take a shot to throw a four-seam fastball bottom zone. Usually don't want to do that because that's Homerville, but because he throws so many airbenders, guys will stand there. As soon as he gets some called strikes at the bottom of the zone, four-seam fastballs, everything will open up fast. He just needs to plant that seed in their head. So, does he try to hit the bottom of the zone with some fastballs? Is his first pitch strike rate going up and therefore dropping his walk rate? And then is he going to use a wrinkle pitch? Notice to see if he mixes in a cutter, mixes in like a little power change or something. See if he tries to throw a new pitch here in the next few outings. If you see a combination of these three things, I would say we're getting pretty close. Land ho, land ahead, enjoy yourself. Devin Williams is on his way back. Will he take the closer role back? I don't know. Luke Weaver's pretty good. But a good Devin Williams, no matter where he's pitching what inning he's pitching in the game, is something the Yankees need if they want to win that division. It's just that simple. All right, that concludes our breakdown of Devin Williams. We're going to swap over to Trevor May Baseball. So if you are here on Foul Territory, I will see you over there in one moment. If you are already on Twitch and you're hanging out, take a little break. Get yourself a drink. Go to the bathroom, and I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. All right? All right. See you soon.